Now, an al-Qaeda affiliate is now threatening the life of a U.S. journalist. He's been identified in a video as 33-year-old Luke Summers. He was kidnapped more than a year ago in Yemen. Now, al-Qaeda giving the United States 3 days to meet its demands, though the terror group hasn't explained exactly what it wants. Let's welcome Gillian Turner. She worked at the National Security Council during both the Bush and Obama administrations, and she is our newest Fox News contributor. Gillian, welcome. Welcome to the Fox team. Hey, let's start out by setting the stage here, because we don't cover Yemen a whole lot, but Yemen essentially a failed state. Its government collapsed earlier in the fall, and there are two Islamist groups fighting for control of that country. How does that complicate efforts for the U.S. to try to get this guy home?
Well, the main focus here is really going to be al-Qaeda in Yemen, as you mentioned, which is also known as al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, also known as AQAP. They are one of, if not the most dangerous al-Qaeda offshoot organization in the region. They're comprised of armed, militant Sunni Muslims who populate what has become a very volatile, as you mentioned, Arabian Peninsula. And they share with ISIS not only this radical Sunni demographic, but a professed intent to destroy Western and American targets.
All right, so Gillian, you're not just concerned about the safety of this American, but you're also concerned about what could be brewing in Yemen as it affects Western countries and the United States.
Absolutely. Al-Qaeda in Yemen has perpetrated several very high-profile attacks in the past. Perhaps most notably here at home was a 2009 attempt to detonate an explosive device aboard a Northwest Airlines flight, which, had it been successful, would have been al-Qaeda's first attack on U.S. soil since 9/11. So there's a much larger issue about terrorism in the country.
Okay, let me ask you one more question about this, because there was a raid that took place about a week ago. It was conducted by Yemeni, apparently their special forces, along with some U.S. special operations, to try to get him home, to try to get Luke Summers home safely. That failed. They were able to rescue some other people, though. How likely are we going to be able to save this young man?
Well, you know, if we're going to judge by what's taken place in the past with recent ISIS kidnappings in Syria, the chances are tragically not looking very good. The U.S. has made it a priority to really emphasize they're not going to negotiate with any terrorist organizations over the release of hostages. So we have to kind of see what happens over the next 24, 48 hours, if there's any give and take there, which there's likely not, or whether perhaps there'll be another special forces raid.
Okay, yeah, a real mess there with all the competing factions, al-Qaeda and an Iranian-backed group, and then the government falling. I want to ask you, though, about an issue that's going on in Iraq. And, of course, we've been learning about Iranian warplanes striking ISIS targets in Iraq. Iran, of course, not an ally of ours. But the question a lot of folks are asking now, is the enemy of our enemy somehow becoming our friend?
Well, look, the concern about the United States and Iranian armed forces in any way working together is absolutely understandable. The reality is that Iran and the U.S. are not in any tangible or direct way coordinating or really even communicating with one another right now. What is happening is that the Iraqi security forces, who as of now are still in control of their airspace, are managing a process of deconflicting U.S. and Iranian tactical objectives inside the country. Now,
in civilian speak, that means what?
I was going to say, deconflicting in military parlance has a very specific definition, meaning, which in no way implicates that, direct coordination or direct communication between two parties. What it really is saying is that we understand that, you're both operating in this airspace, but we also understand that there's no direct communication between these two countries. So we're going to try and iron this out a little bit.
Okay, well, let's just hope that our folks in the sky there are certainly safe from all of that. Gillian Turner, thanks so much for joining us from Washington. We'd love to have you up here in New York when you get a chance, and welcome on board the Fox team. Glad to have you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
A truck driver loses control